Let's do that. So Riley, you're the first guest here.
My pleasure.
We're going to just jump into it. Like Joe Rogan says, what's up, freak bitches? First things first, we talked about how you were in a tough spot with making your decision about work you were supposed to do. Can you tell me a bit about yourself and the position you were in just now?
All right. Well, to get to talking about the position I was in, let's
talk about yourself.
Yeah. Let's start. It won't make sense unless I, kind of give some of the exposition and backstory.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man. Like 8 years ago, I was a 20-year-old kid. I was failing out at community college, right?
Yeah.
Like I had no idea where my life was headed.
Yeah.
I literally, actually, I failed the same math class 14 times in a row. I didn't even think that was possible. But I thought that I would never, get further in my college career. And I needed something new, So I got really lucky, and I had a friend who said, let's take a Euro trip, So I was 20 years old. And this to me seemed like the thing to do. Everybody was doing it. This is before Instagram stories.
Yeah.
Like Facebook was there, but this is before all that stuff. And I saw all my friends traveling the world, and I was like, damn, I gotta hop on that train.
Yeah.
So I went to Europe, and long story short, I fell in love with the place, right? Just totally fell in love.
Yeah.
I'm thinking to myself, what the hell am I doing living in America when this incredible place is over here? So I came back, this is about a 2-month trip. I came back to the States, and thankfully the school let me back in. They probably shouldn't have, but they let me back in. And I started taking shit seriously,
In what way?
Well, I knew if I wanted to live a life and be over there, then I had to make things work in America first.
Yeah.
So for me, that everybody's different. But for me, getting my degree was very important, and being able to make some money to leave and travel and all that stuff was as well. So when I was 21 years old, I saw the movie The Social Network. And
such a fucking great movie.
It's a great movie, David Fincher movie. I had been back to Europe again for just a 1-week Christmas break. I was in Dublin, Ireland, and I was staying in a hostel, and they had this movie on their TV.
Yeah.
And I watched the movie like 10 times, and it was just great as a movie, but it made me realize I want to do something like that.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go through the drama that they'd gone through when they started the Facebook, but I knew I wanted to start a company. I knew I wanted to have something. And, I came back from this little small vacation in Dublin, and I went back to America, and my best friend came to me, and he said, I'm starting a company with another friend of mine.
Yeah.
And this, killed me, man. I was so jealous.
Because he wasn't starting.
Yeah, because he wasn't starting it with me.
Yeah.
And I was like, I felt vengeful, And I was like, okay, well, if you're gonna go and do that with him, then I'm gonna get my other friend over here, and we're gonna start our company, and it's gonna be better than your company.
Yeah.
So my other friend and I, we started a company together. It's called We Counsel Solutions. It's a very, very successful company now, healthcare technology company. And, it was a startup, nuts and bolts. We started building it out of my office that I had at my university.
I gotta stop you right there, because you're in Serbia. And the important thing about exposing yourself to people from different countries as you are, what would you... Because in Serbia, we don't see things too far away ahead of us.
Yeah.
With that, I mean, we don't plan much ahead because we don't see too many options, because all of our parents and everybody surrounding us, they don't have real success. Sure. And when you were deciding to start a company, you actually were in a country where real success can be found, where you can find inspiration but not like online inspiration. You can find inspiration around yourself. So to people who are watching right now, like if they have some drive to start a company or whatever, what should they do in this atmosphere, in their position in Serbia?
It's a good question, and you know, like back to what I said, I found inspiration at the time through a movie.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I mean, obviously there's all sorts of things with my upbringing and being able to see my parents succeed, being able to see my business partner at the time, their parents were very successful. But at the core of it, something inside of me, that need to want to create something, was connected to me through a really well-made movie.
Yeah.
And I don't think you have to live in America or Serbia or anywhere to have the same impact of the cinema on you.
Yeah.
And but here's where things changed. America, if we're going to compare America and Serbia, America has way more resources, and America has that certain quality where kids grow up and people grow up to believe that they can do whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought...
The American dream.
Yes, but I literally thought that I would be like the next great NBA basketball player for half my life, you know?
Yeah.
And then obviously you get to high school and you realize that these other kids are kicking your ass, and at some point reality hits you and you realize you're not going to be the next Dirk Nowitzki. But what happened was I had started this with my other friend, and believe it or not, the other friend that I was jealous of ended up joining us because he was like, your idea is better. Now, fortunately, he came from a lot of money. And that's another thing. So he could invest. Yes, so that's another thing that is different. So I remember just sitting with him one day, and my two friends, Josh and Harrison.
And when was it?
This was...
Which year?
This was 2011. Spring, March 2011.
So it was after a financial crisis.
Yes, it was.
So you weren't starting like in a bad spot.
We weren't starting...
I don't know what was the atmosphere then for entrepreneurs.
Dude, we're like kids that are in our freshman, sophomore year of college. Yeah. Like we're not even really that concerned with the financial crisis.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we were lucky in a way. We all came from pretty good families. But
we
we were all very different.
Yeah.
You know, we were all entrepreneurial, but one of us was a salesperson and a communicator. One of us was a finance guy. One of us was a designer. So we all had different specialties, basically.
So he came to you guys?
Yeah, he came to us, and then there were three. Yeah. So the company that I started was started by three individuals, me and my two friends, two best friends at the time. I remember the day when we were sitting in his house, and we drafted up a piece of paper, and we said what our company would do, and we made an offer to his parents, hey, give us $10,000, and we'll give you... It was actually something like 6% of the company. Yeah. And that's actually a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
If you're going to start a great company. If you're not, then, whatever, they're going to lose that money. But for them, that was worth the risk to take, you know? Yeah. So we went right down there. They agreed right on the spot. So first investment was $10,000, right? And we thought that was huge, dude. Yeah. Like, for me, $10,000 could have just as well been $1 million, right? Because I was so proud. I told my dad, we raised $10,000. And he's like, yeah, that's cool. That's great. But, like, make a long story short, we ended up getting more investment from other types of people. Yeah. And this was old school, man. We were designing all the stuff. We thought we were making the next Facebook for doctors. Yeah. And... we were designing everything by hand and stuff. And
so did you bring them? How did you pitch them? Did you bring them the product, but not finished product?
Sure,
did you bring them the idea?
Well, it comes down to the storytelling. So first, I need to tell you what the company did. So the company was a healthcare technology company, still is, that connects medical doctors to their patients online. Yeah. And we worked primarily in behavioral health when we started. So it was like, therapists, counselors, psychiatrists, psychologists connecting with their patients. And we saw a massive problem. And that problem was, what happens when I need to meet with a doctor, but I can't get to the hospital?
Yeah.
Or I can't get to the clinic or their office.
Yeah.
What happens? Because when I was a kid, I was 15 years old. My parents had been through a terrible divorce. All the kids in my family had needed counseling.
Yeah.
And my parents were too busy to take us to the counselors.
Yeah.
So we actually never got the help that we needed at the time.
Yeah.
And, you know, both my co-founders had similar circumstances. And we saw that problem and we said, wow, so many people are dealing with this. This is something that has to be fixed.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So we developed a way for doctors to communicate with their patients by consultation, like prescribing medication, setting up appointments, dealing with administrative software that other people can run the company. So when you ask me how did I sell it, you got to tell the story. So like when I went and did my first pitch, investor pitch, big one, I pitched at a competition and there were 500 people there.
Yeah.
I was nervous as fuck, dude.
Yeah.
But I rehearsed my pitch like 100 times. I could probably still pitch it to you. Like that's how well I remember it. And the first thing I did is tell the story that I just kind of told.
Yeah.
Because you have to get people to empathize with you.
Yeah.
That is the most important thing in sales. It's the most important thing with making new friends. Everything. If you don't get their heart, if you don't get them to empathize, you're never going to get them to be a friend or to invest money in your company or whatever it is.
You hit a couple of great points here. Jordan Belfort, the real Wolf of Wall Street,
I know.
talked about preparation. They did a study with him because they were amazed with what he does. And they were like, okay, let's set up a study where we are going to test people, how they sell. So we are going to send in an actor who cannot say yes to a sale to nobody. So they got a couple of guys who are in sales, and one of them was Jordan Belfort. So they gave him the product, and they gave him the info about product. So other guys went in, they came out, nobody could do shit. He went in, and he got the guy who is an actor to say yes, even though he was told explicitly not to say fucking yes to a sale. Like, you cannot say yes. This is a study, you cannot say yes. He said yes. And they asked him, like, what the hell did you do? And he was like, how much time on average did other guys spend preparing for the sale? And they were like 15 to 30 minutes. And he told them, yeah, I spent 3 hours studying the product and thinking about how he is going to connect the product to the person in front of him. Chris Voss, who was an FBI negotiator who negotiated with terrorists, he said an interesting thing where he was asked, like, how do you communicate with terrorists? Because they're crazy. They cannot be communicated with as normal people. He wrote in his book, you communicate with them as any other human being. You empathize, you connect with them, you disarm them with your empathy.
Absolutely.
And then you talk with them, because when you empathize, they see that you understand them. So with this, I see that you were thinking about, you were putting other people in front of your ego, in front of yourself. So that made you connect with them and collect the money you needed for the product.
Sure. Well, okay, so I worked at Fishing Booker, as you well know. Yeah. I was there, very short stint, 6 months. I basically ran kind of public relations there.
Yeah. But Fishing Booker, can you tell us a bit about the company?
Fishing Booker is basically like online booking company. It was considered the Airbnb of fishing charters. It won TechCrunch Disrupt 2013. One of the fastest growing companies in Serbia, run by an incredible CEO named Vukan Simic, and it's an incredible company. But I was there for 6 months, and I was, the CEO was about to give a talk in front of a lot of people, and he was cool, and we connected, and he came to me and he said, "Do you have any advice?" And I said, "You know what is the most valuable thing that nobody ever considers? Sincerity.
Yeah.
You just have to be sincere.
Yeah.
If you're sincere with people, then they're going to totally connect with you. Because if you're just up there saying stuff that is canned, that everyone's heard before, basically stuff that's just not genuine.
Exactly.
You know, then you're not going to get anywhere, and people are going to see through that. I mean, people are way smarter than you think.
Exactly.
And they've had their whole lives and met so many people that they can see through the bullshit so easy. So by being sincere and being genuine, people are going to empathize with you.
Yeah.
Now, if you can be able to do that while telling a story, then you're just going to get even further.
Yeah.
So, I mean, long story short,
you were talking about how you collected money?
Yeah, we collected the money. We went through a bunch of accelerators. We ended up raising, close to $1 million, and everything changed. We had our own offices. I suddenly was the boss of other people that were
and how
twice
old were
my
you
age.
at the time?
I was 22, 23 years old. So for me,
so
it was
it's possible.
Yeah, I mean, I was failing the same math class 14 times in a row. But I was also going through school at the same time. I was also getting my actual degree.
So it's fucking possible.
Yeah, it's possible, but you gotta work your ass off.
Yeah.
And, honestly, to this day, I still never worked as hard as I did when I was that age.
Yeah.
And, I got my degree. We got money. The company started growing very quickly. And, as much as I had hoped that it wouldn't turn out like the Facebook situation, it did. And,
For those who don't know the story, elaborate.
On the Wii console story or a Facebook story?
Facebook story.
Everybody knows the Facebook story, man. Facebook story, Mark Zuckerberg started the company with his best friend at the time, actually several of his best friends. But the primary co-founder with him, Eduardo Saverin, who was their chief financial officer and was the second largest equity holder in the company, basically got screwed out of his equity and ended up suing the company and making a lot of money. But basically he was betrayed by Mark Zuckerberg.
So we don't have to go into too much detail, but
yeah, I mean,
it kind of happened.
Yeah, well, they were my two best friends, but there was one that Josh, who I was always the closest to. So Josh and I were the closest. I got burnt out on being in a healthcare startup because I always felt more like I was an artist. And I left the company. They offered me a good amount of money.
Yeah.
And they said, "Look, you can leave the company. We'll give you this much money." I called my dad. I said, "What do you think?" He said, "Tell them to give you an offer when they feel like they're going to be serious about their offer." So I did that, and I heard nothing. Yeah. So I'm a little nervous because I'm like, well, damn it, I just passed up a lot of money, but I'd saved a bit. So I quit, and I went straight to Europe,
Yeah.
And I had no intentions of becoming a photojournalist, photographer, nothing like that. I actually wanted to be a filmmaker.
Yeah.
But I knew I wanted to keep telling stories.
Yeah.
And I ended up going back to America for a very short period. I did sell all my equity in the company.
So you decided to go to Europe.
Yeah.
What does it mean? You decide to go somewhere where you don't have anybody.
Yeah.
How did you manage to, for example, I go out with this motherfucker and he knows every one of my friends, and I've lived in Belgrade for 24 years. And how long have you been here?
Well, I always tell people 3 years, but it's actually probably more like 1.5 years because I've left and come back so many times.
It's definitely less than 24 years.
Yeah.
So I go out with him and he knows everybody.
Yeah,
so
it's just flattering,
How did you create so much social circles? Like wherever you go, you actually know somebody, you actually worked with somebody, you found jobs, you found gigs, you did photos, you did so much things. Like how does that work in your case? How do you manage to build that for yourself? Because people out there who have some idea to, for example, go to Barcelona and like I don't know, build up a YouTube channel or whatever, like take
Sure.
photos. They don't know how to do that. You seem to have figured out a way to make yourself succeed in those kinds of situations.
You know, I think that is actually one of the things I enjoy most in life. So I don't think it's something that I had to like ever push myself to be good at. It was something that I did naturally because it gave me so much pleasure. And you know, what we're talking about is integration, right? Networking integration. So like I did it with my company.
Yeah.
I had mentors, I had people helping us, I had software developers, I had all sorts of 100 people all helping us, most of them for free.
Yeah.
To build this incredible product.
Yeah, yeah.
And, you know, the company I started, the healthcare company, has helped, you know, over 150,000 patients get medical treatment from doctors as of today, which is huge. And that was exciting to me. So I ended up coming to Europe, and yes, I became a photojournalist. And
by the way, you told us about the story about building a company and everything, but you haven't told us about when did you get into photography?
Good question. So I got into movies, actually. Like, I was obsessed. I was a cinephile. I was watching like 2 or 3 movies a day, like all through college, like before I got started on the company. And I was obsessed with movies. And I loved cinematography, you know? And I never was like big into photography. I came to Europe and I had a lot of money. You know, so I bought a really nice camera, and my plan was actually to make a documentary. They actually wrote about this in the Times Free Press, but my plan was actually to make a documentary about expatriates and why people travel and why they leave America. But I just started taking pictures with the camera, and I realized I don't need a crew. Expats, like people that have left America or wherever, and they are living in a different country. That never happened. I started taking photos, and I just got this immense pleasure from it. And to go back to your earlier question, photojournalism is the same way. As a journalist, or any journalist, you have to get integrated in communities.
Yeah.
So like coming to Serbia, I mean, one thing has to do with extroversion. If you're extroverted, you're going to meet a lot of people anyways.
Yeah.
If you're a good friend to people, then they're going to remember you and they're going to introduce you to more people. But my philosophy is the best way to get integrated is to be open and find at least one person that has the key to the city. You know? Yeah. So like if somebody comes from...
By the way, I got to jump in for 1 second.
Yeah.
I got to disagree a little bit about the thing with extroversion. I don't think many people will believe this, but I consider myself an introvert. Like, it's not my natural state to...
But I think people get too caught up on the introvert-extrovert argument. I think it's not like black and white. Like, human beings are so fucking complicated. It's not like introvert or extrovert.
Because, for example, people see me, like, I'm jumping around, I'm, like, loud as fuck and everything. Yeah. And they think that I'm an extrovert. But it's not natural to me. But that doesn't mean that it's not authentic. I build this momentum where I find myself, I put myself in situations where I feel uncomfortable, where I meet so many people, and with positive feedback, I continue doing those things because I know the pattern. I know that first things first, I gotta feel shitty before I feel good.
Sure.
So I gotta feel anxious, I gotta feel shitty before I gain that momentum, that social momentum. Sure. And then I begin meeting everybody, and then that happens for me.
Well, okay, so with extroversion...
I'm saying that just because of people who are watching, who are maybe looking for an excuse not to do shit.
I get that. And I think you have to define extroversion and introversion. But, you know, the thing to understand here is that extroversion and introversion isn't so simplified as being outgoing or being shy. It actually has a lot more to do with what motivates you.
Yeah.
Are you motivated internally? Are you internally motivating yourself constantly? Yeah. Or are you motivated by outward factors? Are other people motivating you? Or fame or money or popularity? Are those things motivating you?
Yeah.
Or are you internally motivated
Yeah.
by things? And it's not black and white. You can be both of them. Why the hell not? You can be many things. So, so I guess being integrated is something that just comes naturally. It's a part of photojournalism. It's a part of all these things. And how do I do it? Well, you have to be a good judge of character. You have to go to a place, like I spend a lot of time in Tbilisi in Georgia. It's like a second home to me. But you get better at judging if people are going to be good for you or not. And one of the first people I met there, basically, he was like, I'm going to show you everything. Like, he introduced me to so many people. He already had his network.
Yeah.
So it was like he had built this whole world, and he just kind of let me in to create on my own and do my own thing. So I didn't need to, have other people show me around, because he showed me so many things that opened up so many other doors. And for many years, I've been the kind of person where people can come from all over the world to me in Belgrade, and I'm going to give them that sort of, not a courtesy, but that opportunity.
Yeah.
And what goes around comes around, man.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, fuck yes.
Yeah.
Everything, for example, I was just on a sail, a 6-boat sail, where I was on a boat with a 500,000 euro boat. And I find myself in
a situation... Get me one of those.
I find myself in a situation where I'm actually living the dream, I'm actually...
But you feel totally lost in the world and good. How do I...
I feel like the most important thing... The most important thing for myself on that trip wasn't the hardwood and the boat and the people who I was with there. The most important thing for me is that I did it for myself.
Absolutely.
I built a network where I was open to an opportunity.
But not in a selfish way.
Not in a selfish way, of course not.
Can I make yourself better?
Yeah. For people who don't know how to begin their businesses or their work or whatever, I did it in a way where I told some people, I'm going to do shit for free.
Yeah.
No expectations. You don't have to say my name on social media, of course. You don't have to say my name. You don't have to tag me. You don't have to use my material. You don't have to pay me. You don't have to do shit. Absolutely fucking zero expectations. I'm going to do work for free. No expectations, no nothing. 2 weeks later, after I decided to approach building my portfolio and building my career in that way, 2 weeks later, I ended up on a 500,000 euro boat with 5 other boats beside me, and I got 550 gigabytes of great material there. And I'm also a cinematographer and a photographer, so it was an experience that was worth so much to me. And I know the pattern. I know when I give without asking anything in return, I'm going to...
It's gonna come back in return.
What goes around comes around. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, so the first question you asked me, sorry, this is taking forever to get around to the original question here, but it actually makes sense to talk about this now since you brought it up. Your question was, today I had I got offered a job 2 days ago.
I think everybody forgot about it. So the original point of this podcast was to talk about how when you get offered with a job which is paid
a lot of
money, and when you're faced with a decision to take a lot of money or to enjoy yourself,
to take a lot of money to do something you don't want to do versus settling for less money that you have to be able to do what you love. What
do you do in those kinds of situations?
Well,
you made a tough decision, definitely.
Yeah, everybody's different. I'm not an office work kind of guy. I've been through it twice. This would be my 3rd time if I had taken the job before, and I know that it's not for me. I mean, that's a bit of a generalization, office work, but that's basically what I mean. Being in an office all day. I call them prisons. But, you know...
many people do in their mind.
Yeah, I'm not going to say which company or whatever, but, you know, I got offered a very nice job. It would probably pay me more money than I ever made in my life. And, you know, they wanted me to be a sales guy for them, work at their headquarters in San Francisco, split time here in Belgrade, but like ridiculous money. And I enjoy the life I have now. You know, I'm not like a millionaire, but I'm comfortable and I enjoy what I do, and I'm able to travel all the time. I'm going back to Georgia in a few weeks. I'm going to do a lot of photography there as well. But when that price tag is hanging in front of you, things get very tempting. And the world, you know, capitalism in the world, and a lot of times America, but all over the place, they're always, these people that want something from you, they're always going to tell you to take more money, more house, 2 houses, another boat. And when they do this, you have to sit back and look at things and like you're watching a movie, and kind of step back and watch your life and think what's important and what's not. And for me, the freedoms that I have with being able to travel, to be able to spend more time with my friends, to be able to go visit my family this Christmas, and obviously being able to work as an artist and take photographs, I'm okay with not being super rich. I'm okay with just being comfortable enough and doing those things I love, because what's on the other side of that? Making a lot of money and sitting in an office all day for how many years? Some of the best years of my life. I'm still in my 20s, by the way. So for me, you know, when I'm 90 years old and I look back, I think I'm going to be
just fine.
Glad. You know, yeah, people say don't buy things, buy experiences, you know?
Yeah.
And like, that's, you need money to do most of them, but not always. You can have great experiences with no money.
Yeah, I did this with no money.
Yeah.
I
mean, to do the podcast, you do have to have the lights. You do have to have the camera. Like, you do have to have these things.
But you can go out in the...
Well, you know, you could run out to the Danube River right now and
exactly.
skinny dip in the water and take a swim and surprise yourself, and that's not going to cost you anything.
Or if you want to shoot a podcast, you can take your phone and choose a right
buy
time.
The phone.
Or you can ask your friend to give you a phone if you don't have one. Sure. But you can use your phone, go out in the time of the day when the lighting is good, and you're going to have a much better frame than this yellow fucking background.
Absolutely.
So it's going to be even better with a motherfucking phone than with all the lights and everything we have right here.
Yeah.
If you decide that you want it bad enough.
And it's all about, you know, cameras, things like this. They're all just tools, man. Like, if you're a good storyteller, you can be a far better photographer using an iPhone than some other guy who's a bad storyteller and has like 10 5Ds and all the Fuji cameras and everything. Exactly. It doesn't matter. You can see that
in Casey Neistat.
Yeah. And he rocks. He's a cool guy. He fucking does what he wants, and he's a great storyteller.
He didn't put color.
But he's also a hard worker.
He's a hard worker.
And Gary Vee, they're both hard workers.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? I could never work as hard as either of those guys.
But that's self-awareness.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. I'm not either.
Yeah.
Like, I want to have a girlfriend.
But you know,
I want to have fun.
But you know what Gary Vee tells you is, don't work a job that you're going to hate. You're going to be miserable. Do what you love.
He says, like, if you could make, like, 100,000 a year doing something you hate, or 50,000 doing something you love, you've got to be self-aware enough to make a decision where you choose your happiness over some ideal which is not true. It's really not true. I was exposed to some really rich people by circumstances or whatever.
Luck.
I was exposed to seeing a lot of money, to seeing a lot of to seeing what being rich is like. I traveled with a private plane. I was in all kinds of situations, and what I found is, I actually this is the story when I talk about this is the story I tell. I watched Lord of the Rings on a 20-foot screen. Like I'm in American mind right now with feet and everything.
That's
it's like 10 meter screen, like 7 meter screen, whatever. 7 meters screen, 7 meters wide in a pool with like a bottle of wine in my hand and like chilling while listening to watching to Lord of the Rings on 7.1 speakers, which are fucking insane. And the thing was, I could have been watching that movie on a 32-inch TV, which is like $200, with my friend, and I was bored because I was alone. I couldn't like go with him to buy popcorn.
It's about the experience. I can't remember which director it was. It was like Guillermo del Toro or someone like that, and they said, "Well, what do you think about the difference between streaming on Netflix and actually going to the cinema and watching the movie on the big screen?" And there's no right or wrong answer. I mean, I went to the movie theater the other day outside at Zvezda in Belgrade, beautiful outdoor theater, and they were playing The Godfather, right?
Yeah.
And I've seen The Godfather on a TV before, but this was like captivating, like it was taking over everything around me. Yeah. And around me, all the people drinking beer and hanging out and smoking cigarettes, and they're all captivated. And that whole experience, not just the movie, but everything that the movie and the movie theater created along with the people was special.
Yeah.
And, this director said, doesn't matter if it's on my phone or if it's on a big screen, I just want to get the art in me. I just want to watch the movie and get it in me.
Yeah.
So I think they're both right. I mean, I think you just got to get it in you.
Yeah.
But I also think, having that surround sound, everything in front of you, the audience and everything, atmosphere, man. For me, it's about atmosphere. When I watch a movie, I want to have the whole atmosphere there. Yeah.
Exactly. I love going to some shopping center here in Belgrade to buy tortilla chips, to buy 3 dippings, and to go to the movie. Yeah. And it's not.
But you make that atmosphere, right? You're making that.
It's not only about the movie. It's about going there.
Yeah.
It's about buying the tortilla.
It's the fucking journey, man.
It's about watching the movie, and it's about walking back home on the bridge. What the fuck?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm stuck. What's the name of the bridge?
Branko's Bridge, man. I'm more Serbian than you.
Walking over Branko's Bridge and talking about the experience.
Yes. Well, that's what I was used to say.
Experience.
Is it's more it's more fun. You go out, you get drunk, and you party with your friends, right?
Yeah.
And you have a great time.
Yeah.
But it's always more fun the next morning when you're with your friends and you're just laughing about all the shit you did, right?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe one's more than the other, but they're both part of the experience.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
So that's what it kind of comes down to. And I think, actually, while we have some time, a bit of a switch I would like to make. Let's talk about Instagram. Because I've been doing a lot of Instagram stuff recently, and I really would like to have a just small conversation about that.
What exactly?
Instagram stories. Because Instagram stories is the most... Instagram was originally developed for photographers, pretty much. Yeah. I mean, it actually became the app that when they put cameras in phones, it allowed everyone to become a photographer. And I actually think photography is one of the universal languages. Because not everybody's a painter. But everybody takes photos, right? Everybody. Most of them don't have any taste, and they're no good. But everybody takes photos.
How many people are subscribed to Instagram?
Oh my gosh, you're asking the wrong person, but over 1 billion, I would say. I don't know how many billions. All I know is that engagement on Facebook is at an all-time low right now, and because they're flocking to Instagram, which Facebook owns, so it's all part of their system. But Instagram stories to me is so interesting because, when you had something important you wanted to say 5 years ago, 10 years ago, you could go on TV, you could give a speech at a rally, like a president or something. And
but 100 people, like, if you're lucky, if you're a great organizer, if you're a great...
Sure.
If you're lucky, 100 people are going to hear about it.
Exactly.
If you're lucky... If you're a crazy good social, if you're lucky.
Yeah.
And with Instagram,
well, with Instagram, most people have nothing interesting to say, and millions of people are hearing them. And that's actually the saddest side of Instagram, is that so much garbage is being consumed. But there are people out there, you know, like the obvious people would be the Casey Neistats, the Gary V's. But there's also lots of, you know, thousands and thousands of other great artists. And it's called Instagram Story for a reason, you know? And artists and people that think that way, and the way I think, is let's use this to really tell stories. Let's be a therapy to all the garbage that's being put out there.
Yeah.
Like, I'm seeing 100 stories a day and they're all garbage, but one guy is going to be the one to really get my attention and make me think differently and start a conversation, you know? So I'm trying to be the antidote of all the stuff that's going out there. I'm trying to be the opposite of everybody else. Because that's how you're going to stand out. That's how you're going to make a difference. But again, it goes back to being genuine, being sincere, being all these things. And I'm the same way I pitch to get investors with We Counsel is the same thing I do when I do Instagram stories, you know?
And how do you approach, because something I want to learn from you is when you talk with the camera, it's so natural. It's like listening to you talk is like you can talk about anything. You can give your opinion on a cafe nearby which you don't give an address to, so we don't know where it is.
Sure.
So it's actually not important to us because, for example, you don't say where it is or whatever. But when you talk about it, it's interesting. I want to stick around. I want to hear what you have to say.
Sure.
How do you approach it? How did you learn it? How does it come out of you?
You know,
in that way.
It's a good question. I would do a job interview. I would do this podcast with you. I would give a speech, and I would do my Instagram stories all the same way. And you know, I actually think that Instagram stories is the least scary of those.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're standing on a stage and you literally have 1,000 people in front of you, you're not gonna, unless you're really, you know, confident and genuine, you're not gonna want to, you're gonna be nervous or at least fearful or scared to say what you want to say, unless you're Steve Jobs or Tesla, or like, not Tesla, but Elon Musk, and you've done it 100 times and you're comfortable. You know, if it's your first or second time or 10th time, you're not gonna feel that comfortable. But when I do an Instagram story, I'm walking down the street, I'm and that's the other thing, you can do them anywhere, and I'm in my house or whatever, so I don't feel that threat of all these people, but I am aware that they're there.
That's interesting, because imagine 1,000 people in a theater. Like, you would really respect the opportunity to get 15 or 30 or 45 or 60 seconds with them. You would respect the opportunity to talk to that much people. You would think about what you're going to say. You would choose your words. You will choose the theme, and you would try to provide some value to those people, because if 1,000 people stood in an arena and gave you time to listen to you, you would carefully consider what you're going to say. Not to say that you're going to filter things.
Absolutely.
Not to say that you're going to filter.
But you would be more conscious about what you're saying.
And you would respect what you have there.
But you know what? That can be a good thing or a bad thing.
And the thing is, what I wanted to hit on, like, I have 600 followers. That's like this much.
Quality over quantity, you know.
No, the thing is, like, 200 and something people watch every story I put out.
Yeah, and what is that?
Imagine
that's a high percentage.
Imagine 200 people in front of you.
Yeah.
Imagine 200 people in front of you, and when you guys put out stories, like, and you see analytics or whatever. Like, imagine all those people in front of you. What would you do? Would you talk shit about, like, I took a shower, I took a shit?
Yeah.
You would, no, you wouldn't. You would be talking about something that's important to you. You would share, and people who share ideas that they're passionate about, nobody's perfect. I share stories
contagious,
that
man.
are shit. I share.
We're all guilty of sharing stories that are shit, okay?
Of course. Nobody is perfect, and nobody is living a life 24/7, which is interesting enough to share with everybody.
And mostly
else.
we do it because we're just bored, and that's why we share shitty content.
Yeah. But what I wanted to hit on is that you've got to think about those things. You've got to think about how you're going to provide value.
Yeah.
When I listen to you, you're providing value in a way. It doesn't have to be like I learned something. It doesn't. It can be entertainment.
Exactly.
It can be escapism.
Instagram is built just like Facebook, and it's built like so many apps, which is basically to get as many people to stay on the app as long as possible and to produce as much content as possible, because that's how the companies make money through advertisement.
Yeah.
So this goes back to motivation: is why do most people post Instagram stories or anything on Instagram?
Yeah.
Because most people do it because they want to get likes. They want to see more people viewing their story because it sets off the same chemical in your brain that doing drugs is, the dopamine.
Yeah.
And that's why you're constantly checking back. Yeah. And that's why if you post a photo and it doesn't get as many likes as your last photo, you feel bad.
Yeah.
So my advice is try to get away from that.
Yeah.
And only produce content that you know is meaningful. And it doesn't matter if less people like it or less people see it. Maybe that does have something to say about the quality of the content. But the fact is, why are you putting out there? Why are you doing it? I mean, the story I made today about not taking this job, I didn't do it for attention. I didn't do it because I wanted a lot of people to see it or whatever. I did it because I needed to express myself and get someone else's opinion other than my close friends.
Yeah.
And I knew that by doing it through Instagram stories, I could get 1,000 people's opinion.
Yeah.
And maybe what I said is important to them. And I got several messages back today like, I just went through this. I just also went through this
We
job
are doing
thing.
this podcast right now.
It's universal, man. And that's the power of Instagram, and that's why I love Instagram. I just think you have to treat it like any tool in the right way.
Yeah, exactly. Elon Musk and Joe Rogan just spoke about how Instagram is fucked up in a way where you're looking at everybody is doing PR for themselves on Instagram. So like you're viewing people through a lens which they
created for themselves.
Yeah.
Totally.
So you're not seeing the reality. For example, I went on a sail and I was sailing for 7 days, so it looked fun. I was on boats, I was on yachts, whatever, and it looked fun. But for the next 2 or 3 weeks,
it was rough.
I'm going to be handling 550 gigabytes of material, 8 hours a day on my fucking computer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not going to be
But
fun.
you should be fucking Instagramming that, because everybody should try to see the whole story, because people don't like seeing things that are like, I don't want to say
not
miserable,
genuine.
but people don't want to see oh, I had such a bad day today, blah blah blah. No one cares about that. No one really wants to hear about the real stuff going on. And everyone has that pressure on them to try to put off the best perception of themselves as possible. And that's not something that Instagram created. That's just something that Instagram put emphasis on.
Exactly.
But that's been around since the beginning of mankind.
It's an amplifier to ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. But that can make you feel so many things that are so dangerous to you.
So dangerous.
Like FOMO, fear of missing out.
Yeah.
All sorts of things.
I'm guilty of it myself.
Everybody's guilty of it. Like there's so few people that aren't guilty of it.
With exes, for example,
don't get me started on exes.
It's like
we have to do. Can we do another podcast? Because
exes.
you're just not gonna.
Yeah, fine.
Okay, that's good.
Exes Instagram, you get it. We don't have to go into it. We'll do an episode on it in a different time. Not right now. Yeah. Absolutely not now.
Yes. But Instagram can be used for many, many things.
Yeah. I gotta go back to myself. Not in I don't want to put myself up or whatever. It's just I want to share what I experienced with my Instagram story.
I would love to hear.
The thing is, I ended up. The sail was just finished. I just came back from my Ionian Sea Greek sail, so that's why I'm talking so much about it. I have 600 followers, maybe even less. I think less. And to somebody that's nothing, like literally nothing, that's fucking close to zero. To people who have 20,000, 100,000, 2 million, whatever. But with those 600, I was able to communicate with some people.
Yeah, and you have to respect those 600
Exactly.
people, right?
I was able to connect with people who put me through other people.
Absolutely.
And I ended up sailing on the Ionian Sea because of my 600 followers.
As I said earlier, though, it only takes one person.
It only takes one person.
Yeah.
And because I know a lot of young photographers who don't know what to do with their skills and who don't know how to approach their skill set and to use it properly. I'm not saying that I know how to do that. I'm just sharing my story here. If you don't know what to do, just like Gary Vee says, work your ass off. Like, do shit for free. Offer value without asking anything in return.
Sure.
Zero in return. And you are going to be provided with opportunities left and right just because of that approach. And I can absolutely stand behind that, and I can guarantee that.
Absolutely. And
with confidence.
I think working your ass off, so to speak, if you're doing it for something that means something to you, right?
Yeah.
If you work your ass off for something that has no meaning to you, like calling 100 people a day on the phone, it's still not going to do you that much good.
Yeah.
But if you work your ass off for something you really care about, that is oftentimes the most rewarding way. But also, I mean, I've never been like a work my ass off type of dude. I just never have. I'm like a laid back. I like to have half the time of my life off just to chill and be with friends and do things. Exactly. Even when I had my company, I never actually felt that I worked my ass off. Even though maybe I did, but I just enjoyed it.
Yeah.
You know? So there is a fine line between getting lucky or working smart and not hard, or working smart and hard, or whatever. I don't want to get caught up in that whole thing.
You just have to get to know yourself.
Find what you love. It's like Max, one of my favorite characters in a movie, the movie Rushmore by Wes Anderson. The main character, Max Fisher, he's a kid, but he says that Bill Murray says, "What's the secret?" And he says, find what you love and do it for the rest of your life. And
it's such a fucking cliche, but it's
such a
so
cliche,
true.
But it's so fucking true, right?
Yeah.
And like that's why I didn't take this job, because it's not what I want to do.
Yeah.
So taking anything away from photography or what I love now, or being with friends and stuff, that's just a distraction.
Yeah.
So that's about it.
I think we
covered a lot of ground.
Yeah. And we actually came to some great conclusions in the end.
Yeah.
I think
we have more to talk about, but I think for one podcast,
this is going to be more than enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly what you just said. I feel like
we just had a great conversation.
Yeah. We don't have to talk any longer because this is a great closing point.
Absolutely.
Find what you love and do it for the rest of your life. That's such a fucking cliche, but it's so fucking true.
Don't forget it.
It's so true. It's so fucking true.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed this podcast.
It was great.
I think I'm going to publish this actually.
That would be nice. Yeah.
I think this was a great conversation.
It was nice.
By the way, I tried doing these before, and I never got to it. I never got to posting it because I never felt good about them.
Yeah.
But I think this is gonna be great.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
See ya. Ciao.
Thanks for
Nikola. Thank you for the conversation.
Thank you for being our guest.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we gotta do this more of these. I think you can be a great host. We can build something like this.
Absolutely. Man.
Yeah.
Till next time.
Till next time, guys.
Ciao.
Bye, freak bitches.